All right, welcome back to another video. This one, we are going to be talking about objections and how you can gracefully and tactfully and masterfully handle those. Now, this skill or this part of the sales process is probably the most touchy and also requires the most practice. Now, make no mistake, this is a skill which will require practice. It's going to seem a little bit uncomfortable at first. It's going to seem unnatural, or you're going to seem like you're pushy, but it does come through with some practice. And I'm not saying that it just, hardens your skin or whatever. You just get more experience with the questions or the objections that people are coming, and you get better at identifying them as they come through. So essentially, from a pushy perspective, because people believe that, I don't want to be pushy, or I don't want to come across pushy. Well, pushy is completely in your control. So a skilled communicator will not appear pushy at all. They will just have a conversation and guide the conversation gracefully and carefully and strategically in order to help the patient understand everything that's happening and all the information, so they can ultimately make the choice. So what I like to do is just make sure that I'm coming along the journey with them, making sure that I understand their problem and how can I share the responsibility of that problem with them. Because that's ultimately, that's what it, because if they kind of come into the pharmacy all burdened with a problem and they feel alone in terms of how that problem is to be solved, and you can come along and kind of be there side by side saying, I will be responsible with you. I'm here on this journey. You're going to give them a lot more peace of mind and helping them understand that sometimes the objection is just more of a psychological, they just need some companionship or some sharing of the responsibility because they just don't want to do it all on their own. Okay. Now, one of the biggest things is probably price. It is another sensitive type of area. And what I like to do, and this will take some practice as well, is try to debunk what it is in terms of what they're looking for. And a question that I ask is, are we talking price or are we talking value? And leave it at that and see what their answer is. Because if it's a price thing, like if they literally can't afford it, then you can have a conversation that gives them better valued or solutions that are much more suited to them from into their price range, because you don't want to be extending them to the point where they can't afford something. So someone who comes in snoring and offering them a CPAP machine that's $3,000, that may or may not be the most appropriate solution for them. Going back to that though is a question of value. So some people might not consider a $3,000 sleep apnea machine good value. They just can't see the value in it. And then when you kind of break it down in the sense that, well, $3,000 across a 5-year plus lifetime of this machine, but let's just call it 5 years, and you're going to be using it minimum 7 hours a night for every single night. How much is that per night of usage and utility? And what's that worth to you? Chances are per night, that's less than a cup of coffee. And also the chances are that your quality of sleep and your energy levels and your health levels are going to be boosted to the point where, just say you were so tired and you were having 2-3 coffees a day. If you cut that back by 1 coffee a day, the savings that you would make by not having that coffee versus by being on this machine, the machine actually is saving you money. Now you're having a value conversation rather than just the price conversation, or what's the best price you can do for this, or it's too expensive for me. So that's kind of like the way that you can kind of get around the whole price conversation, or at least having a more specifically honed conversation based on what's actually the issue here when it comes to the price. Also, you can help them understand what's the urgency of their decision. Like, what happens if they don't make a decision? Is there any sort of urgency? And you can put into context for them of what happens if they don't. By not making a decision or deferring it, that still is a decision, and potentially you can help them understand the impacts of not making a decision on the spot. Okay. What are some of their other options? Help them actually understand what their options are. or what are some of the next steps, or if they do this and it does work, what are the next steps, or if they don't do this and things get worse, what are the next steps beyond that? So just kind of, again, help them on this journey, okay? And make sure that you don't take their answers personally. It's not a fight. It's not an argument that needs to be that you need to win. There's not really a winner in all of this, and it is a common trap where you kind of feel like you're adversing, and you're kind of like going against them, and they're coming up with excuses. I need to combat that. It's about making sure that you reposition yourself to be next to shoulder, sharing the responsibility and helping them with their problem that you already had genuinely helped discover. So that's the objection side of things. And the last one we're going to be talking about is closing on the next video. I'll see you then.